Leslie Juvin-Acker. Welcome to the show. Of
Thank you so much for having me, Ashwin.
course. Could you walk me through the steps of building up emotional intelligence?
Gosh, that's a big question, but you know what? The greatest place to start is how you feel. And if you don't feel good, then that means it's time to start doing something about how you feel. And the greatest false premise that we have is that we can't do something about the way we feel. And the truth is that you can. And in this world, in this planet, we're in the realm of experiences. We get to choose what experiences we have. And sometimes we feel when we're having a feeling. I have experienced my fair share of panic attacks, for example. That feeling is informing us of something. And instead of trying to suppress it, it's about letting it come out because there's information that is trying to come out of you from your higher self to your conscious mind. And so a lot of people don't realize that your emotions are the language of your soul. So if you're feeling something, it's communicating something. So recognizing that there is more than just the language we speak, but the language that we feel, then we can start to become more versant in emotional intelligence, and we can become more empathetic with other people and start to understand how other people feel and their life experiences.
What about the idea that some emotions are like outdated? So like they were put in place as a defense mechanism for like the cavemen. So that's why we get tense when we go up in a room full of people or we make such a big deal out of small things. Do you think that might be this case in some situations?
I think that, well, I think what you're kind of going at is how, and I talk about this in my book, The Money Formula, from 0 to 7, our subconscious mind is being programmed with assumptions of the world around us. I'm not safe. Life doesn't give me what I want. People don't love me. I'm not lovable. And these premises, these assumptions, I also talk about that in my book, Engineering Your Mood, inform our feelings, our general mood. And so when we go into a room, for example, as you said, and we have these feelings of, oh, I'm in danger or people don't like me, is that really true? Are the facts really mirroring your feelings? And so if you're not seeing the factual situation, we see this with people with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. I had a friend of mine who was blown up in Afghanistan, and he saw his friends died. He was in the Navy. And when you are feeling a type of way because of a trauma or because of something that had happened, and your reality does not reflect that feeling that you're feeling, then that is the time to start doing something about your mood and your feelings. And of course, this is more than just psychological, it's about deeper things that we need to do to heal that trauma and to correct those false assumptions that the world is not safe and I'm not lovable and things don't happen my way and life doesn't provide for me. These are things that I work on with my clients in the past to help them overcome false assumptions about life and therefore false perceptions.
Hmm. Yeah, emotions are very interesting to me. I've been told that I'm a very emotionless most of the time. So I'm gonna pester you about this topic for a little bit here. How do so people are born with different personalities, obviously, and then some people are more
Mm-hmm.
emotional than others. They have a different array of emotions. How does that work? Like, we've said that emotions come from the place you are in life or what's happened to you, but then some people are born with that. Is there a way
I
this
do
can
think
change
that
that?
I think that that is true. I mean, I have people in my family who have sociopathic personality disorder. You
Exactly. Yeah.
can't just pray away that kind of disorder. You have to get therapy. You have to be on medication. You have to be in environments that support you. A lot of self-help people want to bypass science and medicine and therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy and just say, well, just change how you feel. That's not true. Even I've said that even in all my books, and I say that from my personal experience, having had serious postpartum depression, is that you are predisposed sometimes to these types of disorders, and so you have to face it in a multi-dimensional way: medication, therapy, putting yourself in the correct environments, these types of things, and recognizing, gosh, there's something going on in the physical, the spiritual, the emotional, and the environmental, and I need to address that from a multiple perspective way. And there's no way that I would ever say to somebody, especially in my own family with such a disorder, oh, yeah, well, you're just, this is your personality. There's nothing you can do about it. Now, there's things that you need to do. You can't just like pray it away. It's not going to happen.
It just destroyed all their sense of hope, and it's all just down the drain. Uh,
Well, I
so
mean, a lot of people self medicate those types of things. And that's what's happened in my
mm,
family is self
yeah.
medication. So you got to be really careful because that can produce addiction.
Is alcohol the greatest form of self medication?
Alcohol, it could be sex, it could be pills, whatever is, it could be gambling, it could be video games, it could be, self-soothing, it could be a
Mm.
variety of things that I've seen. But it's really important to recognize when you're feeling out of control. Again, it goes back to that fundamental premise that I can't do something about the way I feel. Yes, you can. It might be traditional ways, it might be diet and exercise, but you can do something.
What are those traditional ways, like, besides diet and exercise?
Traditional ways, medication,
Uh,
osteopathy, chiropractic, like a lot of times here in France, you go to a hydrotherapy spa. You there's a variety of different ways. Colonics. Edgar Casey was the father of holistic medicine. He talked about colonics. There's a variety of ways to get treatment. I think we don't really give it any credit, especially in mental health and emotional intelligence.
mm, I see. So a good transition here. I wanna transition into your book, The Money Formula. Walk me through the lessons that you talk about in there.
So the money formula is kind of a personal revelation for myself. I was coaching a lot of people and I was helping them make a lot of money and millions of dollars and coaching people who were doing amazing things with money and making more money. Like I've helped people make 30,000 bucks in one promotion or, $1 million or $500,000 and all these things. But I had a dirty secret. I wasn't doing that for myself. I was barely making, no matter how much I worked in my coaching practice, I could have 100 clients one month and I'd still make the same amount of money even if I had five. So I really had to go in this process of self-analysis is what is the real barrier. It wasn't amount that I was working. It wasn't that I wasn't hustling and grinding. It was because I had to go back into my subconscious mind. And the money formula is a self hypnosis, self energy protocol that takes you back into your subconscious mind. 7 steps, 15 minutes or less, and it asks you questions. It says, go, you have a thought and you have a feeling. Okay, close your eyes, go to that feeling, and go back to the very first time you felt that way. And for me, that money was a limitation. So my memory was being a girl and seeing a little yellow notepad on the door of my next to the back door of my mom's house, and it had their income. And I looked back at that memory, and the limiting income that was on there was the same amount that I was making. So I was programming myself based on my parents' income to make the same thing. And as soon as I got rid of that, and started to go through every word in my financial dictionary: retirement, millionaire, wealth, loan, mortgage, started to correct those feelings and the erroneous assumptions about life that produce those feelings and therefore those behaviors. I was no longer on this path of self sabotaging behavior towards money. And so it changed my money psychology, changed therefore my behavior, and therefore I started getting better results because I was doing different things. I was no longer behaving the same way. And because of that, I sold my house for a wild profit. I own this house free and clear. It's 4,000 square feet townhome in the south of France. I'm doing pretty well for myself. But I had to go back and I had to change my thoughts and feelings about money. And yes, there are systemic issues. Like 99% of us in the world don't make as much money as the 1%. But that goes that premise too is that I can't do anything about how I feel about my own wealth and my own story. And you can, even if it means that along the path you have to overcome some of those obstacles. So I faced it, and that's a little simple short book. It's basic instructions, but it is so, so simple that you can change how you think and feel about money and therefore start doing things differently and therefore write your story, your financial story.
You mentioned the Post-it note was a limiting belief, and this is a term and a concept I've been hearing for around 2 years now, and haven't looked into it too far, but it's been hard for me to find limiting beliefs. So can you explain how to identify them?
That's a good question. That is a really good question. Nobody has asked me that question. So finding a limiting belief is very, very almost insidious. We have a lot of limiting beliefs and we don't even realize, but sometimes you might hear them. You might hear yourself saying, nobody loves me. I'm never going to make it.
Mm.
Things are just not working out. People are not helping me. Why aren't they listening to me?
It's like
If
subconscious
you
thoughts.
Yes, it is this internal dialogue. And when you feel, it is a feeling of this current of thoughts that are coming through that you feel are just that start to drag you down. Yeah, there you go. You've tapped into the source. You've tapped into that source of limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs merely are false assumptions, things that you assume are true that are not true, and they do not help you and therefore produce in you behavior that you find self sabotaging. You want to make more money, but then you're outspending yourself. You want to get a better job, but you're too nervous to go out and network. So if you find that your results are not matching up your behavior, somewhere in between, there is a limiting belief that is preventing you from getting the results that you want. And that's where the performance psychology comes in my work is going, okay, so you want to make $1 million, but you're doing this. So what is this that you're thinking and feeling that's keeping you from going here? That's the work. And the thing is, though, I've been doing this forever. I do it with my kids and I've taught them how to do it. I use muscle testing applied to kinesiology, but you can use your own general sense of intuition to go, I'm thinking and feeling something that makes me feel bad. There you go. There you go. That there's something there that's setting you back.
Mm. Yeah, you make a good point with I'm here. This is where I want to be. I've heard the idea of like I'm not the person I want to be yet, but what would that person do right now if he were in my shoes or she were in my shoes? And I feel like that's like it's a stimulus to get there. It's like I want to if I want to become a person who makes $1 million, what would a millionaire do right now? And that usually helps whoever it is find the answer. You have an
That's
opinion on
it.
that?
I
Yeah.
mean, I'm going to add to that is that you always got to say to yourself, I am the person that I want
That's
to
right.
be.
Exactly.
I am the person I want to be, baby, and I wear it like swag. You have to say it to yourself because the thing about personal achievement and self help is a lot of times you come from this premise that you are not the person you want to be and you're trying to become. And that's not really what it is. You're undoing everything you're not so you can finally be who you really are. That's the process. Everything that you have been told by society, by your parents, by television, by magazines, by media, everything they say that you are, you're not. And so you're releasing that so that way you can finally get to know yourself and say, oh, I actually like myself. I am very likable. I am powerful. I am this, I am that. And that then that goes to that I am statements. And if you don't like the I am statements that you're hearing in your head right now, change them. You can talk to yourself and reprogram yourself. A lot of people underestimate the power of simply talking to yourself, saying to yourself, I feel great. I'm doing better. I know exactly what to do at all times. Things are just amazing. I know exactly who to trust and I know exactly what to do. You can say those things to yourself and program yourself. A lot of people underestimate that power of self talk.
Powerful stuff. So Leslie Juvin-Acker, what are your words of wisdom for the world?
My words of wisdom are is that it does pay to be you, but it takes courage to be you, to really truly be your most authentic self. The most bravest thing. You know, one of my favorite drag queens, Very Delta, says, don't say what you want, say what you should. And she's right. You got to say what you should. You got to say what is coming deeply from your heart. If you see something, say something. Be brave enough and authentic. But a lot of times we think it doesn't pay to be me. I have to be somebody else that I'm not in order to make more money, to get ahead, to get the job, to get the girl, to get the things. And that's just not true because I know this from having coached some of the richest freaking people on the planet and famous, rich and famous. And I can tell you, it's just not true. You have to be authentically yourself because in that unfolding, very Buddhist, in that unfolding, you discover somebody that you love so much and you love yourself. And when you discover self love, you can love everybody else. It's easy, but that's the journey of self love. Ooh, gosh.
Nice. Very nice. Oh, that's good.